Morning, guys. Just want to have my closeout Yack session in regards to our event this last weekend with a workshop with Mora and Sykes. I wanted to first off thank them very much for a job well done. They busted their ass. They had a lot of relative information. They centered on everybody's dog, and they did a good job overall as working the whole room and giving everybody what they needed to get some value out of the workshop. And that's the key. I mean, it's not something that's easy in that regard. These guys have been doing it for a little while, but I wanted to accent the point that in this industry, you cannot do a total working dog without having good decoys, that know what they're doing and that can give you what you want in that respect and or educate you. Because 90% of it, when they're up there talking and yakking at the screen, and Oscar's showing a lot of himself and talking about the dogs he worked, he came in with a couple puppies that he did demos with, and just some excellent stuff. You know, it allowed people to see what quality they have when they put out their product, that sort of thing. And it was, really a lot of fun and enjoyment for me to be able to be sitting around and seeing all that different dogs, different levels of experience, and all the things that go along with what we do in regards to producing a product with the working dogs. And if I didn't have decoys, I couldn't do it. There's a lot of ways of approaching it. You can try to get some people around you that you create a village. I'm way out here in the boonies. It's going to be real hard for me to have that sort of a ability to get that nucleus of getting people that are all involved and into the same thing that I am, right? So it is what it is. And when I first started my business, just the most recent, in the last 10 years that I've been doing this with ProTech, or maybe even longer, but I went out and paid decoys for sessions because there's no other way for me to get the work done unless I have somebody around me. And if anybody that's in the business realizes and knows that having that sort of person that has the passion, number one, very few people have the passion that I do for dogs, and you find them every now and then, but those people are people that want to do their own thing and be their own boss and climb the ladder themselves, so you can never get them to come in with you because they want to be the big man on the block, which is no harm, no foul, don't get me wrong. I'm just kind of relating to that. When you're trying to go out and find people to bring into your business and to do things, it's not as easy as it seems. Oscar seems to have gotten a little click on it, that he's got himself a good village. It takes a village, it really does. And all these people that are around him, Shane Murray and Sykes and all the people that are around him that have learned and grown their trade and their craft by hanging around Oscar, is a testament to Oscar. And like I was telling him yesterday when I was sitting next to him, we were yakking a little bit. Bottom line is, it's a testament to him, and that's why he's always asked me, Oscar's always asked, why do you always plus my stuff? Why do you always like whatever I post, and you follow me and you give me so much positive feedback towards him? The reality and truth is I do it because Oscar's the epitome of what the profession should be. Right? The profession should have a level-headed person like that puts out and emulates what should be in the overall, with the jealousy and the backstabbing and the bad mouth and all that crap that goes on in our industry. We need to grow up as an industry overall. And so I've always respected Oscar a lot because he brings that to the table. And that being the case, that's why he's where he's at. He's the epitome of what the profession should be about. Not worrying about other people, worry about yourself and get the job done in that respect, instead of sitting there dwelling on all kinds of other people and what they're doing. And we don't have a very healthy environment a lot of times with the viper pit that we deal with. You know what I mean? So it's not easy. And LA is one of the worst because we've got an LA basin with a lot of trainers. We've got trainers running all over the place from San Diego and LA, and everybody wants to be the big man on the totem pole, So there's a lot of psychological aspects of things that our industry overall needs to grow up, you know what I mean? And that's why I do the posting I do in regards to Oscar and the crew that he's got. That's why it was very cool for me to be able to go out and hang out with him, because I know what I'm going to get in that regards. And they gave me exactly what I asked for. and they were willing to follow my direction in that regard and do their own thing, but at the same time accent the points that I was after. And with the dog that I've got, the biggest thing with Bruno, a customer-client dog that I've got, and I'm working and building for the client, his biggest problem is he's got so much go juice and so much quality and genetics. He's a strong dog that he got imprinted as a puppy over there, a lot of play and pray, and they were kind of building him towards a Schutzen slant, that he was equipment fixated, and he still is to a certain degree. It's going to take a lot of time to give him the right mental attitude of what the job is, and I want the mental attitude when I do personal protection. Man comes first, equipment is second. And that was something that was real hard because of the strength in that dog to get him off of that equipment and get him on the mat. I spent a whole, almost a month or so working with another buddy of mine, working very diligently to get him the foundation, the bite work foundation, where he's biting, how he's working, round tables, bark boxes. We were, real heavy, but that's the only decoy he had seen. So now it's time to move it up to that next level and start letting him see other decoys with different styles and keep working the dog and developing him towards being, the real thing, right? Now, for those that are laymen that don't understand it, the criteria, as far as I'm concerned, and what I build is a dog you can take any place with, he's friendly and fine, he's very good with people. I do a lot of work with my environmentals in that regards. I want the dog to be balanced because he's this dog, Bruno, has got a family. He's got 2 kids, a wife, husband. I mean, you got to make sure that you have a balanced product. If you don't, you got a liability. And just recently I heard of it happens all the time. People end up going and getting enough knowledge that they start to figure out what they can do on their own, and they go out and a person went out and got a dog from Hungary, right? And they ended up having a home invasion. That's why they wanted the dog. And the home invasion traumatized the family. They're down in Hollywood area, LA. They got a little bit of money. And they've had one of those situations where they've got home invasion happen to them. And that's very traumatic, And so they went out and found themselves a dog in Hungary. And the dog was, they tell people what they're after and why they're wanting to buy a dog. And over there, those people that work with working dogs gave them what they asked for, which was a dog that was a little too strong for the customer. And the dog tore him up, right? And that happens now and then. And it's only a testament to making sure that you're a little bit more knowledgeable and knowing what you're doing. And that's why somebody like me gets called in, I get called in, consulted with, and people need to understand the liability involved with getting a protection dog and or building the dog in the right way so that he's not, doesn't have too much of an edge on him that ends up being more dog than you can handle, right? And there's a lot of factors in that. Genetics play into that, but also training and how they build the dog, right? So this dog, Bruno, we've taken him to that next level. He now will not see any jute sleeves. We'll take the equipment away from him. I'm going to the park right now to work, and I'm going to take all my equipment out of the park. I'm going to lay it on the ground. I'm going to get the dog used to not paying attention to that equipment. Change his frame of mind in regards to the equipment being a toy, and that's the way he looks at it. It's all about, and so every time we were working him, he wants to go after the equipment because he's dealing with getting decoy work and all that. So it takes work. It takes work, especially with a strong dog, right? Genetically predisposed to do the work and very strong dog. He didn't want to let go of that, and he's still going to need more work in that regards. I think we've got him kind of over the hump, but we need to reaffirm it and keep it along that same path so we keep molding and shaping his mental attitude in the work. So now he's going to go into suit work. Anybody that we do work with, I need good suit decoys. If you're a decoy that thinks you can handle it, let me know. He's going back home with a family right now. He might be home with a family 2-3 months, who knows, before he comes back in. Right? I've got to make sure now that the customer can learn and develop with the animal, and that their relationship is where we need it to keep working with the animal. So it'll happen with time, but that's the sort of thing that I do, right? I build dogs, and I use the resources around me with 30 plus years of experience that I've got plenty of people to call on if I need them, right? So, and knowing who's who. It's just like I always talk about with the horse race industry. My mom was a thoroughbred agent, a horse trainer. Her dad was one of the top trainers at Santa Anita when she grew up. And so I was around that environment when I was a kid, and I learned how they deal with their training. A horse trainer is totally different than a dog trainer, not because of any other reason that dog trainers don't get around the horse industry, so they don't think the way they do, right? The trainer has his own barn. He's got his own barn, his own clientele. Most of the time in that realm, when you're talking horse racing, we're talking high dollar clients. And that trainer's job is to handle the dog in such a way that, handle the horse so that he gets him ready for race day, right? So bottom line is, it's a matter of understanding that, and that trainer's job is to be the same way that I look at it. It's about resources. You got to have people that muck your stalls. You got to have people that hot walk and bathe the horses. You've got all this work that needs to be done, and the whole industry of the horse reel on the backside of the racetrack has got all these people that are available, and it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? You know when that jockey needs to be called in because the horse is taking the bit and getting too strong, and you know that this jockey's well known for keeping the horse's head tucked in and taking that away and getting the horse to have a proper gait, and that's all skill that you need to have. So you know who those jockeys are. You call that jockey and you put him on that horse, right, as you're developing the horse for race day. So it's important that you know that sort of thing when you're dealing with horses. And dog training, somehow we've gotten into this ego aspect that we think that we want to be the world, and everything always revolves around us, because it started that way. When it first started, the Germans would come over here, and the German guy would start his own training firm, and it was with his heavy accent, and he was taking all the bites on the dog and being the Mr. Ego out there with building the dogs. Our industry's changed so much, guys. It takes a village. It takes multiple ability and knowing what you're doing. Like, I'll move this dog in all kinds of locations and move him around to different decoys when he's ready, right? He worked with my friend for over a month, and we did the development, slow but sure, bite development. Everything was developed in the right way, and now he was ready to go to that next stage. And that's why I wanted to hook up with Chris and Oscar, because I know that Chris is a hell of a decoy. And he's getting better all the time. With all the dogs he's been taking bites with and traveling all over the place, he's going to go do it again, and that's what gives him the skill. So how many dogs do you have under your belt? That's where the skill comes from, right? Chris is a hell of a decoy. So he was working Bruno. He already took a first bite from him in the beginning, and so now he did most of the work with Oscar, working together with the two of them and how they were going to lay this whole thing out. They did a great job, excellent job. And Oscar, thank you. I really appreciate it. Chris, hell of a job, dude. It was really a joy to watch you guys work, and all your accent points and everything you put out with all those people in the room, and each one had a dog with different development and everything else. Excellent job. I was really impressed and really enjoyed myself. So thank you. Thank you very much. But remember, that's my whole theme with this video, guys. It takes a village. You can't do it by yourself. If you don't have good decoys and other people that you can touch, you're not going to do anything, right? I'm not God's gift to anything. I'm just a person that's been around for long enough to know what's going on, right? I'm pretty good at what I do, but I don't do much decoy work nowadays. I'm 63 years old. I'm not, when I started the Protect, I wanted to have it where I went out to the kids and showed them some good dogs, and I think I've done that. I mean, Mora, Buddy, Joker, all these dogs are a representation of all I've done to build these dogs. When I go out, like right now, Chris is going to have an event coming up next weekend, this upcoming weekend, that he's doing a decoy workshop where he's teaching decoys how to do the job and to do the bite work and all that good. Hell of a great opportunity for anybody that could get in there and take advantage of that. And they're going to be working, I think they're going to go to Upland, and they're also going to the field in Carson at Oscar's place. So, I mean, that's, if you're wanting to get into it, that's the place to do it. Go out there and have a good workshop for a whole weekend and do nothing but talk and get your juices really flowing on the whole subject of protection dogs, right? And how they're built and what they're doing. You want to learn to take bites? That's what you want to do, right? Get in with the right people. That's what they've done. They put together a workshop just for the decoy, and they're asking for other people with other dogs. I want to take Joker and Buddy out. I may not be able to afford it after spending all the money for this event, but bottom line, man, if I could afford it and had money in my pocket, I'd be right there. You know what I mean? And Joker and Buddy would be taken because they're excellent dogs. They're older. Joker's about 8 years old. There's not really too much you can do to screw them up, as long as I wouldn't let them take my puppy. I'd let Chris work my puppy, but I wouldn't let these green decoys and brand new decoys work my dog. They don't have enough skill in the bank, right? Yet, right? They'll get there if they practice and keep working towards things, So, all right, I'll leave you guys alone. I'm here to get some breakfast, and I'm heading to the park with Bruno, and I'm going to put down a bunch of sleeves on the ground and teach him not to pay attention, start walking over that, and reaffirm the whole subject, which is equipment doesn't matter as much as a man, right? Man comes first, equipment is second. In my world, I'm building a personal protection dog. There's all kinds of different sports, and every dog needs to be built specifically what you're trying to do, right? It's a piece of clay. You're creating something, right? So in regards to the sport, you're in PSA, you stay around PSA people. I don't do PSA. I don't do Schützen, but every one of these sports have things that I can take from, and that's what I do. I take the diamonds in the rough, so to speak. Walk down the gravel driveway, keep your head pointed down, and you see a diamond, you pick it up, right? All this information and knowledge that comes from every sport. There's always good things. There's always something that you can take away and use it to apply towards the criteria that you might want, right? I do personal protection, so I have a lot of different, and it depends. It's customization. It depends on the customer, what their needs are, what their environment is. If I gave too sharp of a dog to Bruno's family, it's going to be too much dog for him. The dog might eat him up. That's why we got a dog that was a younger dog, adolescent, and shipped him in, and I did the molding and shaping, and that's what we're up to, right? So that's what it's all about. So, all right, I'll let you guys go. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training, yakking about dogs and our little adventure. And Oscar, again, thank you, man. Good work. Chris, hell of a job, dude. I was really happy with the work. Thank you. Bye-bye.